race.
The fun race. We had some young athletes and people just coming in, finishing that one up. But right now, the 10-miler is well underway. Thomas Maximus has just made the turn. We heard from Bob Reisner, so we're trying to get the updates on that as well. But Dave, one person that we didn't really talk about was Chase Costeline, who's not even on the list. He might not even be registered.
He's probably just sandbagging. He's in there, and he's probably going to win the race. So who knows?
He'll probably win the race, throw his board on the truck, and leave. Don't even know he was here.
We'll give him a taco like the old days and just send him on his way. We're also talking about the whole Supshine of eternal youth, and there's a couple guys on this list that I didn't realize that they were racing. One guy is Mike Day, who's an incredible hydrodynamic engineering boat designer who got into paddleboard design, and he's worked with Lakeshore. He's worked with a multitude of these manufacturers up here, and he also has his own company called Flatwater Paddleboard Company. There you go, flying his colors, and super, super cool cat, and he's racing, and I mean, he's always on the podium for the Masters division. I mean, he's an incredible paddler, as is his wife, Tracy. And the other cat that I failed to mention is Mike Bond from Mammoth, who did the drive up here. Also another guy that paddles for Ohana, and he just got a new stick, so he's probably going to be up there as far as the Masters. And, we were just talking on the break, as far as, like, to me, the winner in this event is the guy that's smiling the most. Phil Edwards, a surfer from Southern California in the 60s, said the best surfer in the water is the guy that's having the most fun. And really, to me, that's what epitomizes paddleboarding is you could be a pro in 15 minutes. You're knocking on the door calling for sponsorship, and you've been paddling for a day. And that's the groovy thing about it, is everyone is having fun. The learning curve is non-existent. And really, as long as you're having fun, that's what these events are about,
It's so true. And you brought up Mike Day, and I want to point out Mike Day, the owner, innovator, president of Flatwater Paddleboard Company, now has partnered with Corbin. And now released a brand new design via Corbin, who's here today. I see their flag flying here in Kings Beach for the Tahoe Nalu. So they've actually got two different versions of a Mike Day design coming out on Corbin. So this guy has some engineering background that doesn't stop whatsoever.
Without a doubt. And he's an old surf cat, so he understands hydrodynamic design. And the boards he's making, I've paddled them. They are as flat as, fast as all get out. So if you have a chance to try out some of Mike Day's boards, definitely do yourself a favor and check them out.
And we got the results for the 2-mile race. Just came in via text. That's how technologically advanced we are around here.
There we go.
We got people sprinkled everywhere. But coming in, first place is Luca Sanika. Now I'm looking for these names. I'll find out where they're from and how old they are. Bubba Sloan came in second, and J.C. Suda came in third, and Brian Tilfers came in fourth, and Sophia Sanchez comes in fifth.
Well, I know who Bubba is. Bubba is a classic character. There's only so many Bubbas on the planet.
Sure.
Bubba is from Atlanta, Georgia, and he owns a company called High Country Outfitters, and he just got into town last night and stopped by my house, and it was kind of like, so where are we paddling tomorrow? And I'm like, you just have to walk down my block and look at the big piece of water, and that's pretty much where you're paddling tomorrow. So that's good to see that he actually placed in the race. That's cool.
He did place. And then Brian Tilford also in the mix as well. So we're going to get a printout of the final results, and we'll break it down for you from, Groms to women to men and everything, and have that update for you as soon as we can. But that was really exciting. Really neat to see those guys out there. You saw a lot of first-timers racing, and that's the cool thing about this sport, as we were talking about with Betsy Reisner, is you could be a first-timer and go out and race 2 miles.
That's right.
On a sup.
Piece of cake.
Surfing or basketball or anything else.
I taught surfing for a number of years when I was in San Diego, and the success rate as far as a surf instructor, you're lucky if you get 3-4% of people that are actually paddling, catching waves, and having fun. Right. Whereas I've been teaching paddleboard and paddleboard yoga up here, and it's just like within 10 minutes, everyone is stoked and smiling and laughing, and that's the groovy thing about this sport, is that everyone's having fun.
We want to make it apparent here that we have a ton of water safety on the water. I mean, these kids are going to be going out. We have 2 or 3 jet skis on the water. We actually have the Coast Guard boat out there making sure everybody's safe. The 10-mile race, everybody now, which is up for debate, required to carry a PFD. If you're over the age of 12, 12 and under must be wearing a PFD. I know a lot of people complain about that because they're like, hey, surfing, what's the deal there?
Right.
They're saying if you have a paddle in your hand, that's what the Coast Guard says. If you have a paddle in your hand, you must be wearing a PFD. I know it's always
it's a sticky thing, but let's always err on the side of caution. It's not getting in the way. It's not, I carry my little waist pack with my iPod and my flotation device. It's no big deal. And the same thing with the leash. It's just like we're all attached to the most buoyant flotation device on the planet when you have a leash attached to your paddleboard. So it's like, err on the side of caution, do both, and it's all good. No one's suffering because of having to wear a PFD.
And I totally agree. And with the winds, as quickly as they can kick up in Tahoe, you could be separated from your board in 2 seconds, and then you're stranded there, and bad things happen. So,
case in example, the first year we actually did a crossing through Lake Tahoe, we had some of the most incredible watermen, Dave Kalama, Chuck Patterson, and even those cats, we were all macho men back in those days. PFDs didn't really, come into the play. No one wanted to wear a leash. And we're out there, and it started nuking. And some of those guys got, separated from their board. And in a crazy downwind situation, that board is basically headed to Incline Beach whether you want it to or not. And so even the most, incredible watermen on the planet realize the necessity of having some form of a connection to your board. So, yeah, I'm all about it. Wear the leash.
I totally agree. I think the leash is actually more of a safety device than the PFD in some instances.
Absolutely.
So here we go. I got the updated information now. Overall winner, Luca Senica from Santa Cruz, California, 43-year-old male on a Fanatic board. So
right on.
Very interesting there. Congratulations to him. He takes first place honors in the men's category. Now the females are the Wahine from Santa Cruz, California. These Santa Cruz people coming in sweeping the two-island. JC Suda from Santa Cruz, California, 47 years old. She's taken the top honors in the Wahine class.
Right on.
So there's your top first in the men's and women's category.
It's all that wheatgrass and spirulina that they're growing out there in the hippie highlands of Santa Cruz. Makes them superhuman.
Coming up and dominating in the 2 miles. So, like we talked about earlier, we've been talking about the kids a lot today because the kids are such an integral part of this entire SUP craze right now. And we're seeing a lot of kids on the water right now.
Ripping it.
Cruising around.
And what's really crazy is I've been watching some of these cats catch these little ripples. You know what it is? It's a wave jet. It's a wave jet powered machine motorized paddleboard out there, which they are here. But I was thinking these guys were incredible watermen, but basically they're just standing on a motorized craft right now. So
you're looking at it on the screen here momentarily. I thought the same thing. I'm like, I see the sandbar out there.
It's like, holy cow.
And I saw these little bumps coming in. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
I know.
But no, you're right. In case you don't understand, there's a propulsion device on the bottom of that board, which would make winning this race a lot easier.
Yeah, it sure would. It's a total American style of attitude. It's like, why should I paddle? I'll just put a motor on my board and ride it the whole way.
It's the American way, like you said.
Totally.
We wonder why we're the most obese country in the nation because our bicycles have motors. Our SUP boards have motors. We're just talking about exercise. You're looking at one of them right there.
There he goes right now. There he goes. Motorized machine there. Catching a non-existent wave. Holy moly.
Look at that. He's just paddling for the looks of things.
And this guy's going, wait a minute. I want one of those things.
Now, if you think about it, if you're the Coast Guard boat right there on the screen, you're looking at this guy and you're like, wait a minute. Now he's on a boat, right?
Yeah.
A motorized craft.
How do you define it? How do you define it?
It's kind of funny. We're all joking aside. This side of the lake has instituted the first ever SUP Sheriff's Program.
Right. Absolutely. And I was actually part of that with Tahoe SUP. Ronnie Ayers connected with those characters at Donner Lake. And, they realized that they were wasting gas driving around Donner Lake trying to enforce boat policy. and the big light bulb went off, and they're like, something, man? We need to get away from the donut stand and get on these SUPs and get out there and actually, cohabitate with the boaters that we're interacting with. Right. And it's actually been incredible as far as the response. So now the cats that are here on the lake as well are doing the same thing. So a lot of our law enforcement agencies are now suppers, which is groovy.
And it'll be interesting to see because we saw a lot of law enforcement guys go from walking to bikes to now segways. Now we're going to see our law enforcement on these motorized paddleboards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just creep it like the speed trap, you know? We'll blaze by them and they'll be hiding out in the bushes and then they'll just jump on their jet-powered paddleboard and... Ay, caramba.
But what a view here. Kings Beach, California, the 7th annual Tahoe Nalu here. And I mean, just a phenomenal setting this morning. Everybody was talking about how beautiful the weather's been in Tahoe lately. We had some pretty big winds starting out the week. We're all kind of like keeping our fingers crossed. Things didn't look all. We're predicting rain. And then it comes to today, and there's not a cloud. Well, there's some streaky clouds in the sky right now, but just a phenomenal setting. Right around 70 degrees already here.
Yeah.
And
it's
it
nice.
is 10:15 in the morning, so we'll see how things kind of.
You know, and I know a lot of people are actually watching this down in the flatlands of Sacramento, where it's about 98 degrees and like crazy humidity, and there is not just this paddleboard event going on this weekend up here. There's the Squaw Valley Brews, Jazz, and Funk Fest that is going on, and that is amazing. Yeah. There's a Concours de Elegance that is the wood boat show. So if you're a fan of like the big woodies, it is like the definitive boat show. So that's going on in Carnelian Bay. So there's a lot of magic happening in the Big Blue. So if you guys are bored and have an afternoon, I highly recommend creeping on up here.
Yeah, let's talk about tomorrow's events, Dave. Tomorrow, the race kicks off. The open 4-mile race will kick off at 9 a.m., so you got plenty of time to get here. And we'll probably start on Tahoe time like we talked about, so they'll probably take off around 9:45 or so. And that's always a fun race, as well as the Quicksilver Grand Champion Elite race tomorrow. That's starting off. The preliminary races at 11:30, the finals at 1 p.m., and that is for all the money. $10,000.
$10K. It's definitely a step above a couple tacos from when we first started running this thing, so there's some dough to be had.
Could you imagine being the first guy coming across and getting a taco and a pat on the back? And then you're looking at all these other guys now getting big fancy checks for cash money.
Yeah, there's a little bit of sour grapes going on there. I peaked too early. Drew, what happened to me? I'm washed up at 40.
That's so true. So we're still waiting on the updates from our distance race, which is on the water right now. Like we said, Thomas Maximus, at last we heard, was in the lead. Now, we talked about him being on a 14, which he was listed on the start sheet. Unfortunately, that was inaccurate information. He's actually back on his unlimited board, which we all predicted. I was kind of shocked to see that.
Right.
Thomas, obviously, due to his size and his power, much more fitting for a unlimited board, as well as Rob Rojas. I mean, very similar statures and whatnot. Those two.
They need the float.
They do.
They do. And, speaking of, he paddles for Riviera. We need to talk because I've seen on Facebook the new incantation of some of their board designs, and they've got this thing called the Door. Have you seen that?
Can talk about it because I actually saw it raced last Wednesday night.
So what did you think?
Well, Thomas Maximus was racing it. It's only 26 inches underfoot.
Okay.
And way too small for Thomas. Thomas sunk it. He had a lot of trouble with it.
Right.
But you put someone of a smaller stature, more like your size, your size or my size, 5'9", 5'10", 170, 80 pounds, and that sucker, it's a racer, man.
It looks like an extended rectangle.
It does.
I mean, we're talking parallel rails and like block, square tail, and nose. It looks like you just kind of went into the Home Depot and glued up a couple 2x6s and called it good. And so I'm interested to see how that thing paddles. I hope there's some here because I want to get on the water on one.
Well, I know they have a 14-footer here. They also have, I want to say, like a 9.6 or a 10.6 version, which we actually surfed behind my Mastercraft the other day.
Interesting.
So that was kind of interesting. I mean, it's a short, like you said, it looks like a square, not even a rectangle.
Right.
So that's the shorter version. But Riviera, very willing to try anything
outside the box.
I mean, they Race the Lake of the Sky, which takes place on the north shore, or the south shore. Riviera pretty much took top honors in every single category, and they had a lot of new board designs that Taylor Rambo, Brad Rambo, the owner of the company, his son Taylor designed all himself, shaped all of himself,
right
gets
on
out there, race that thing, And, I mean, these board manufacturers like Mike Day were watching this thing go through the water like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, things are changing.
A big leader in the industry is Riviera, but also Starboard. You got Starboard.
Big time. Brian Szymanski. And Brian Szymanski and I go way back. I mean, we're talking early 80s prone paddlers. And Brian is, once again, one of those cats that really understands board design, has been working with, he's a hired gun. He's worked with so many of these manufacturers. Now he's got a permanent location with Starboard. And, those guys have the technology coming from the windsurfing world. And it's kind of groovy that they've got him under their wing, because Brian Szymanski is a straight-up guy. So I'm interested to see what they're creating. Yeah,
it seems like a battle of the boards right now.
Without a doubt.
They're just spitballing ideas everywhere, trying all these new designs. Like you talked about the door design, which is a rectangle. And, I mean, everybody's just throwing everything out there to see what sticks. And I think from a lot of these people, like we're going to talk about with Mike Tessier, and I talked to him briefly the other day, was you're going to see a streamlining in the board design, similar to what we've seen over the years.
Absolutely. Because, our point of reference when this sport first started taking off, and we'll talk to Bob Pearson from Pearson Aero in Santa Cruz a little bit later, but their point of reference was surfboard design, right? So surfboard designs are planing hulls. They're made to be ridden on waves. But that was the first reference point. So if you saw all those early boards, they were concaved bottoms. They were basically extended longboard nose riders. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went off. They're like, well, wait a minute, man. We're not catching waves on these things. We're just trying to really haul ass. Let's look at boats. And so then they started getting like the M&M boards as far as the piercing hulls. And once again, Joe Bark, one of the true, granddaddies of board design, displacement hulls and really dialed in boards and composite technology and carbon graphite. And so that's where the future's going.
And I want to talk about that briefly because you brought up the name Mike Day from the South Lake Tahoe area. Actually, I think he lives in Markleyville.
Right.
But the 2000, I want to say 9 Battle of the Paddler, 2010, 2008, somewhere in there, brought that piercing hole design down there, and everybody looked at him like, you're crazy.
Right.
And he had studied all the America's Cup boats and whatnot, really tried to narrow down the R&D on it, and he showed up with that board. It's sitting on the beach, and all these people are looking at him going, what the heck you got there?
Oh, yeah.
And now we're starting to see a lot more board designers go in that direction.
I remember the first time Bob Reef from Boardworks, who were the first guys to get the M&M guys to design boards for them. The Becker Super Sup store down in Mission Viejo was just opening up, and he pulled me aside and he's like, you got to check up.
We got our OC6 coming in.
OC6, obviously. The crazy thing about the outriggers is it's like bringing a jet ski to a sailboat race. It's like if you don't win, then there's something wrong with you guys. You got 6 guys in a 40-foot-long canoe. You better be winning.
It's true. It's true. And they're coming in at a great time.
So I'm thinking maybe this is Jamie Donnelly's soon-to-be hubby. They're about ready to pop out a baby. She's like 5 weeks out. He might be like one of the main cats in there.
And Jamie said she might actually compete tomorrow in the 4-miler.
She's going to be doing yoga with me this afternoon. Yeah. So she's, once again, another just a super spirit.
So here comes our first OC6 into the finish line. They're going to make this right-hand turn. I don't know if you can see it right now, but they're about probably 100 yards away from making their right-hand turn into there. And I think you're right. I think that is the Donnelly crew coming in.
Yep.
And since we're on the topic of OCs, you got OC6s, OC1s out there. I know Jay Wild's on an OC1. That's a one-person outrigger canoe.
Right.
And we'll get you those updated information as well. But you're starting to see multiple people on stand-ups now, and one that comes to mind is the
Erickson posse
from Dana Point.
Absolutely, and I've been humbled by those guys many times. They blow by me, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that right? Is that legal? Could you even be doing that? Yeah. Like, how do you even have 2 guys on a board, How does that happen? But you know something? They've perfected the art, When you watch them paddle in synchronicity, it's hilarious and actually amazing at the same time.
And that is father and son. The Ericksons from Dana Point. Now, the dad's usually in the back yelling at the son, which is totally proper.
Typical. Yeah, Little League dad.
I asked Jeff the other day, I go, Jeff, do you ever, there's a shot of our OC6 coming in right now, and I go, Jeff, do you ever stand in the back and like bark orders at your dad? He goes, no. I don't ever want to do that.
That doesn't happen.
But,
no way.
For the first time in SUP history, I think the other day, we actually raced a Trandom, which is 3 people. It was 2 Ericksons and 1 bracket on the same
Hilarious. hilarious.
And the neat thing about that, really interesting information is the Erickson crew, Lance Erickson, the father, designs, shapes, and glasses his own boards, and then races them, which is phenomenal.
That's old school. That's how it used to be in the old surfing days, Wow.
That's our OC
standing up and cranking it. So they're trying to come under the auspices of stand-up outrigger.
Right. That's coming in.
That's SUO. S-U-O.
Good.
There they are. Look at that.
Come in. And I think is that the Donnelly crew? I want to say that it is, as it goes behind the tent.
It looks like there might be a Tahoe cat in there who's actually a transplant Hawaiian by the name of Greg Wright, who's a local Tahoe boy that paddles like a maniac. But, yeah, there they go.
There's our first OC6.
Powering it.
I do want to point out that the Lake Tahoe Outrigger Canoe Club is going to be having their event on the South Shore August 24th. So if you're into outrigger, that'll be a good event to attend. I think it starts at 8 a.m. over there. El Dorado Beach, South Lake Tahoe is where that's going to take place. So all these outrigger guys from the North Shore, the South Shore, they're all going to – I think they're expecting like 10 teams.
It's massive, and it's a full hookie-low, man. There's a lot of primo beers being spilled on each other, and it's good fun.
And we're taking a shot now. We got Jay Wild coming in the OC1. We're going to try to scan a little bit further left.
Is that Jay?
I think it is Jay. Taking a look at it. Looks like his boat. That's a brand new boat that he just got, and that is Jay.
Yep.
That is Jay Wild from right here on the North Shore. He's going to be our first place finisher so far in the OC1. Still trying to get the update on the OC6.
Jay's got a really good paddle technique, too. I mean, if anyone is like a stand-up paddler that's aspiring to outrigger, watch Jay's technique. That's just like picture perfect. I grew up on outriggers. I was born in Kauai, and they get you on outriggers before you do anything. That's part of your baptism. And, I mean, he's got picture perfect technique. If you see that dig, he's using nothing but trapezius and back muscles. He's not using really any arms, full extension, no bending of the elbows. That's as good as it gets right there.
And, Dave, we were talking with Jay earlier, who he kind of follows in the outrigger, and he's saying one of the big influential people is obviously Danny Ching.
Without a doubt.
Top outrigger paddlers.
Without a doubt. And that's the thing. Is talking about poetry in motion. Danny Ching is a combination of Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan of water sports. And if you want to watch a guy, even when he's completely injured and he's got rotator cuff issues, he is poetry in motion. Technically perfect.
They've actually timed him, and his paddle strokes on both right and left hand sides match exactly to a 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, he's a metronome.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I can't even take 2 steps in sequence, and
I know.
Here comes Jay Wild, and brand new boat.
Look at that.
Brand new OC1 boat there. He just had it, I think, like 4 or 5 weeks out there.
That's a great color, too. Joe Bark used to make my paddle boards look in that color. We used to call it the electric avocado. So he's paddling the electric avocado right there.
And we just got an update that Mr. Jones is in second place, so we should see him coming in right out on the water here. We'll see if we could grab him. But Jay Wild coming in. He's our first OC1. Our OC6
here we go.
Is in. There it is.
It looks kind of a battle. We got a little battle.
Trying to get an update. Tracy Day
from
Flatwater, generous enough to give us our updates. I'm trying to find where Mr. Jones is from here.
Now look at the different paddle techniques compared to Jay Wild. You have bent elbows. You don't have full extension. These guys are using more biceps than trapeziuses, and that's why Jay was in front of them. It's obviously, you get to a 10-mile stage and you're fatigued, but, if you keep those arms straight and you dig deep and full extension, you're going to get much more of an efficient paddle stroke. Like that guy that's whizzing by him right there.
Look at that guy come out of nowhere.
There he goes.
You're right, though. What a difference.
Huge difference. See that bent elbow on the top hand? And they're bending the wrist, which is also, it zaps your body for sure.
Well, I don't see Mr. Jones on our start list, which doesn't surprise me. But that is currently, he's in second place. And
I don't know. I mean, we're seeing like a race here. I kind of like this.
That's what makes this exciting.
Absolutely.
The starts and the finish. I mean, if you talk about a sup race, the start is obviously the most amazing part because you got 300 paddlers all charging towards one buoy, and you got this big old bottleneck.
The middle part is like watching paint dry.
You got to listen to us. Job's Roofing. He missed the buoy, we're informed.
Ooh.
Mr. Roof, Job's roof, and missed the buoy. That was the guy we saw coming in closest to shore there. He cut to the inside. He didn't see that far buoy, probably due to the fact of a couple of boats out there.
Yeah.
So Jobs will be disqualified unless they can turn him around. So we're trying to get the update on who these gentlemen are. But another individual who I want to talk about in the SUP, as we're going to see our stand-up people coming in around the point here time, is Mike Gabor. Paddler. You know him very well. Been training the entire offseason. Now, he's a South Lake Tahoe boy. Him and Tom Gant, big OC paddlers.
Absolutely.
And they compete all over. And Mike Gabor's in this race, too. So he's a fierce to be reckoned with.
I didn't know he was here. Right on. Fantastic.
Here. Talked to him in the parking lot this morning. But his training program that he's implemented, I mean, it was all year. They actually took I want to say it's like some kind of elliptical machine and turned it into a paddling machine.
Interesting.
And we're in the gym all winter long. And, I mean, he's very technical on his diet, very technical on his training program. And now he's actually putting it in at a
He's
book.
Stepping up. Right on.
So
Fantastic.
So we'll see how he finishes. But
you know, that's a challenge when you live in inclement weather zones is the fact that you cannot – it's not like living in Dana Point where you paddle year-round. It's like unless you're willing to throw on a dry suit and get hypothermia, you have to get creative as far as your training up here. And, you know, I know Jay and I and a lot of the boys do a lot of cross-country skiing, a lot of speed sprints on the telemark skis, and get out there on the snowshoes and do some deep pow running. So, you know, you got to get creative.
So now we're going to scan. Here's our first handful of OC1 guys coming in. If we could scan all the way out to the horizon right now, we're going to see our first stand-up paddler. That's Thomas Maxim.
Oh, that's Thomas. Yeah, there you go. The Incredible Hulk of SUP, without a doubt.
Look at this guy. You should paint him green.
Can we?
You should paint him green and just body paint him green and let him go out there with a shredded shirt, shredded shorts, because look at the size of this guy. And talking about a technique that's just unprecedented.
Without a doubt. And if you look at that paddle he's using, it's like a 180. I mean, it's just like this big old burly quick blade. They don't make them bigger, you know?
No.
And he's just pulling that thing through the water. And this is
shaft.
Yeah, and this is 10 miles, man, and he's still hammering it like he's, you know, on his way to a bagel run or something. It's like, Thomas, slow down, man. Where's the guy that's in second place behind him? He's probably like...
we got them in view right now. It's the tandem paddlers right there, Erickson and Erickson. Now
so he's schooling two guys on the same board. Yep. I mean, that's how amazing of a paddler that guy is.
So we got the Ericksons just behind him, which will come into screen here momentarily. We just talked about him, Lance and Jeff Erickson, on that tandem board out of Dana Point, California.
There they are, right on.
And there they are right there. Now, that's a brand new Erickson design. He calls it e-boards. That's what he's riding today.
Right.
So a brand new design, just shaped that in the last month. So they've been racing that on and off here over the course of the last 4 weeks.
And look at that. The switch on the paddles is perfect. You know, that's like outrigger style. And obviously, you know, you're paddling on opposite sides to keep the board going straight, because if you were like doing on the same side, you're turning. So, yeah, look at that.
Now, let's talk about the turn, because turning on a SUP with one person can be difficult for some people, as you saw earlier.
But a 150-pound dude in the front, that's even crazier.
Now we're
there we
go.
go.
That's Thomas Maximus you're looking at right now from San Clemente, California,
there
on
it
that
is.
Unlimited from Riviera. Now you see Thomas utilizing – Thomas, not the most graceful turner. He's a power guy.
Absolutely.
Not very agile. You don't see him in a lot of SUP cross.
Yeah, absolutely. But, boy, you get them on a straight line, and it's all over with.
Now we're going to follow the tandem duo
let's watch these guys turn around the buoy.
And it's
see
a
how
different
it's done.
technique altogether, because you're talking a 24-foot board there.
Exactly.
You got a 24-foot board coming into a buoy. You got your dad in the back. Can you imagine if your dad was in the back? I'd be like, I would not want – my dad and I can't be driving the car.
I used to tandem surf with my dad when I was a little keiki, and, boy, woof. Here we go. Look at that.
Isn't that perfect?
Oh, that's poetry.
I mean, that was with two people, almost a better turn than Thomas Maximus. So, also on the horizon, looks like Ronnie Ayers.
Is Ronnie out there?
I want to say.
Really?
That's Ronnie Ayers right there.
Oh, we got the tri-crew. Look at that.
Tandem. We were talking about it earlier.
Holy moly.
Now, this is the tandem crew. These are South Lake Tahoe boys. That's Chris Brackett on the front. Joshua Brackett in the middle and Josiah Brackett in the back there. Now, we talked about it
the
last week.
Brackett Mafia. I didn't even know they were doing the tri-board.
And isn't that Ronnie Ayers behind him?
That does look like
I
Ronnie.
think that's Ronnie Ayers drafting off the back of him. Look at Ronnie doing everything he can to keep up with him right
He's like,
now.
I'm not going to get beat by 3 dudes.
Is there even a Trandom?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Now let's watch.
Here we go. Whoa, Nelly. Look at that.
Hold on. Look at Ronnie trying to cut to the inside.
Whoa, Nelly. There we go.
But that is the Trandom. That's Chris Brackett from South Lake Tahoe with his younger son, Joshua Brackett, who's, I think, 11 years old or 12 years old, and then Josiah, who just had his 14th birthday. It looks like Ronnie's going to try to cut to the inside there. Ronnie Ayers, an individual that is a force to be reckoned with as well.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Ronnie and I have done quite a few little adventures together, and he is one competitive cat.
So there it is, a nice race. Now, they're on an e-board design as well. I think e-boards is the only one that does tandem and I don't even know if this is a
I don't even know where you get a blank that big.
He shapes them himself.
Holy moly.
He orders his styrofoam. It shows up at his house. He said when he ordered his first one, he didn't tell his wife.
Yeah,
he dropped off this huge lop of styrofoam, and she called him and he goes, Lance, someone dropped off this big old pile of trash in the front yard. He goes, oh, by the way, I'm going to design a board.
Well, look at that. That's impressive.
Isn't that impressive? So Ronnie Ayers going to come in there. Now he's going to finish. Ronnie's on a 14, I believe.
Yeah, he's probably on a 14.
So he's going to be our first 14-foot finisher. Now, we were talking about Chase earlier. I don't see Chase coming in, but we do have another supper coming in and out there. We're trying to get his name and number coming into the red buoy right there. But our tandem and
holy moly. Where's the limit? Holy moly.
Next thing you know, we're going to see it looks like Thomas Maximus's time is 1 hour 26 minutes.
So impressive.
Right around that time we talked about should take about an hour and a half, 1 hour 26 minutes. And it looks like now we're about 1 hour and 34 minutes for these tandem and whatever.
Yeah, where's the limit?
Maybe we're going to see like a Sup 6. You know, like OC6, we'll see Sup 6 here.
The Brady board, the Brady Bunch board. Yeah, just get them all out there.
You have to give them compliments, though. I mean, for a family to paddle on the same board together, like I said, my dad and I couldn't even drive in the same car together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we're going to try to grab Thomas Maximus, your overall race leader in the Sup category. We'll try to grab some words with him coming up,
we'll get him over here.
As well as Jay Wild in the OC1. He finishes first there. And we are coming to the completion of our 10-mile race here, our distance race. And
it should be also a point to note that where is the rest of the crew? I mean, these guys that finished are like way ahead of the rest of humanity. So these guys really raised the bar as far as sprinting on this race. Who's this coming in right now in the Unlimited?
Trying to get a shot of it. I don't recognize the paddle stroke.
It's a nice-looking board.
Nice-looking board. We'll try to see if our guys could get a little closer there. But starting to see the rest of the field trickle in there. And a nice little draw. Everybody chose the same line, it looked like.
Absolutely.
At least from the rock outcropping to us, which we're right here in the cove here at Kings Beach. And, around the other side, we don't know what happened. It was best possible line.
Well, inside these boat buoys, it actually gets pretty shallow, and so you get the refraction bouncing off the coastline and coming back. So it does get a little bit more bouncy around those boat buoys. So that was actually a pretty good line that these guys all took.
Trying to get the results here off the computer monitor.
That looks like Rand Carter right there. Rand Carter in the front in the white long-sleeve jersey. He's riding one of those Jimmy Terrell mystery boards designed by Joe Bark and Jimmy Terrell. And look at that thing glide.
Left hand of the screen there is what
look at that thing, smoking.
Yeah, I like how it's black. It's like the Stealth. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. Dave. That's the machine right there. And if you look at the way his feet wells are, they're so thin that we're talking like maybe a 1/4 inch between the water and his feet. And it keeps your center of gravity lower so the board's not as tippy. But I paddled that board, and it's hard to even stay on that thing. So Rand has been paddling that thing all summer. And, yeah. And that's a 14, so he's doing really well.
Here's a pretty good race right
here. We go.
Doing the leashes. We're going to see.
There we go.
They jump off a little early. Where's their board caddies?
Who knows? It is a board graveyard in there. Holy moly.
I announced Battle of the Paddle last year, and Daddy Ching, we were just talking about him, the top paddler in the world, from 404. finishes the race, wins the race. So I'm interviewing him afterwards, and in the Battle of the Paddle, in case you don't know, there's a chicane. So they come to the shore. They have to run through this chicane. They have a board caddy that takes their board and transfers it to the other side.
Spins it around so they can, like, yeah.
And so I asked him, and I said, all these people, they train with their board caddies months in advance. So I asked Danny, I go, hey, Danny, I didn't recognize your board caddy. He goes, oh, he's some guy standing in the audience. I just grabbed him, asked him if he wanted to help me transfer my board. He said,
drinking a beer in the parking lot, said, hey.
Yeah. So he has this guy he never met before, throw his board over, and he goes out and wins Battle of the Paddle last year. So
that's Hawaiian style right there. That's Hawaiian style. Hey, we get up later, brah.
Cracked me up. He starts laughing. He goes, that's just the way it. But that guy as a whole, for being as good as he is and winning pretty much every single race out there, what a humble, generous, with his time, just nicest guy in the world.
He's like true Hawaiian style. He embodies the aloha spirit, and he's all about, and there's no ego going on there. He shows up in races and does it to have fun, but he just winds up winning them all.
Yeah.
But it's just an incredible guy.
And there's our first prone paddler going
nice,
across there.
Nice.
Skipped out of screen there.
I heard you guys talking earlier about prone, and I've been doing prone for 30 years, and it's like prone hurts. You got to really want it. And right now, that guy's lower back, his L4, L5, is like ready to blow out of his back. I mean, that is as good of technique as you can see right there. That's really nice.
You're right, though. It can't be easy on the knees. Can't be easzy on the knees. Like you said, your back has got to be burning. I was talking with Candace Appleby, who competed this year prone in the Race of Lake of the Sky at the South Shore.
Oh, and Anthony, too. Yeah.
They both did.
Yeah.
And their back, they go, it's a huge back workout. If you want to increase your back muscle, go paddle prone for a month or so.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at some of those early watermen, they had the full V bodies. It was from paddling prone. Yeah, look at this race going on here.
Pretty good race going on here. Don't recognize any of these paddlers.
Look at all the different types of stroke techniques, too, You
got one guy just holding on. He's like, just get me there.
Absolutely. I just want to be done.
Just finish. Please, just get me to the finish line.
Now watch the leash removal technique, because that's going to be the make and breaker who finishes in this posse. You got the one thigh leash, which might kind of come into factor. But this guy's pulling away in the front. Don't know who that is.
And all those guys on 14s.
Yep.
So they're coming into the beach. Our 10-miler off without a hitch. Beautiful conditions. We can't reiterate that enough. I mean, not even a ripple on the water right now. I saw a couple of water skiers go by. The parasailers are out there. I mean, for this 10-mile distance race, I don't think conditions could have been any better, Dave.
Absolutely. This is as good as it gets.
You're scanning around there, taking a look here. As you know, we noticed a little briskness in the air this morning. Waking up.
It was cold last night. I had like 300 paddleboarders staying at my house last night, and we played music into the wee hours, and I slept on the deck on my climbing pad. And I woke up this morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning to do my yoga, and it was cold.
38.
38. It feels like fall, and that's a little early for me. It's like early August. I'm not ready for winter. No way.
I agree with you. I want to say it kind of hit us here like Monday or Tuesday. When that temperature fell, we all sleep with our doors and windows open, and I had to get up and shut the door. I'm like, because it got down around 37, 38 degrees.
I put a polar fleece this morning on my top, and I'm like, I didn't even know where the polar fleece was. It's August, dude. I'm not thinking polar fleece. So, yeah.
Well, if you're watching this from out of the area, just a little reminder for all of us locals here, you bring a puffy any time of year, wherever you go. You always have a puffy in your car. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it is true.
Always carry your Patagonia and your puffy no matter where you go, what you're doing, because...
And a snow shovel. You never know. You never know.
But what a beautiful day here as we're underway of our 10-miler, our distance race right now. Coming up next in our list of events, as we're going to cross off our 10-miler and our 2-miler. Our Roxy Outdoor Presents World Record Sup Yoga has been pushed back, so that'll be later this afternoon. So our Grom race is coming up next. 12 and under is what it's going to be. We've already talked about the Groms all day long, so when that race gets closer to getting underway here in the next hour or so, we'll be highlighting, and I'll tell you what, we just saw a couple of them come in, the brackets.
Absolutely. You're going to see like a huge contingency of the prodigies of Anthony Vela and Candace Appleby. I mean, their training program that they've got going up here is amazing. And the brackets, Rand Carter's little guy,
the
Trent.
Staples.
Yep. They're all part of that. And they really are setting the bar high for these young kids, The Grom race, it's good that there is a Grom race because if they were racing with the adults, they'd probably be beating them. So that's why I think the adults that run these events, they have Grom races because they want to keep them from getting beaten by them.
So true. A lot more of our 14 paddlers coming in right now. And we'll get our race results about as quickly as we got our start sheet.
Yeah,
so
it's all good.
We'll have those this afternoon.
I'm just totally cool to talk story. This is a great day.
It is a great day. Temperature's warming up perfectly. Looking for 74 today is your high. So it's just like a perfect North Tahoe day here. And they're going to bring our result sheets over here momentarily. So we'll get those from courtesy of Tracy Day from Flatwater Paddle Company. She's kind of running our results. I see Betsy Reiser maybe hoofing some stuff over here as well.
She's limping. She got a delivery injury.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
What's going on?
Is that covered under workman's comp?
I don't know.
But she's making the way all the way from Park City, Utah. They were supposed to have an event this year, the HTO Summer Series, which they have every single year. Unfortunately, it did get canceled, but they're looking at restructuring it for next year. And they actually everybody's coming back from outdoors retailers.
And
Did you go this year?
I didn't go this year because it was like I was too busy. But, if you really want to know what's going on in the SUP world, that's a great place to go and check out. Go paddle at Lake Jordanelle up there in Park City and try out all these boards because it's like just like the door. Yeah. I'm chomping at the bit to try these new designs, and most people have already seen them at the Outdoor Retailer Trade Show. So here we go.
Results right now.
Okay.
So
here's the distance. Let's talk the distance.
Let's talk distance first. So let's see here. We're gonna come in. Looks like at we had I didn't even see Rusty come in. Rusty H is on the result sheets coming in from Kings Beach at 1 hour, 17 minutes. I did not see him come in before Jay Wild. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I don't know.
So we'll have to get that. We'll kind of shoot something over, see if we can. Because I saw Jay come in as our first OC guy.
Right.
But it's on the results. It's saying Rusty came in prior to.
They've got Jay on a stock 12.6 too. So we're just trying to kind of keep up. Oh, that was Charlie Banfield. That's another cat we didn't talk about. Old school Hawaiian Ohana that comes out of the Bay Area. He paddles a lot down there in Lake Natoma and Folsom Lake. Just a real stand-up individual. And he's probably got to be pushing into the Masters Division. What, is he almost 50?
I want to say
there 40, you go.
Yeah, 50 years old.
He's 50 years old. Amazing paddler.
Another Masters gentleman from Truckee right here,
right
up the hill, Douglas Riley. So Douglas Riley, I want to say, comes in around third place because I don't know if this top one's accurate there. So you got Charlie Banfield coming in second, Jay Wild coming in first, to my knowledge, and then we're gonna say that Douglas Riley came in third. Now we go to the 14s. Thomas Maximus, who was on the Unlimited, which will change that on the results, from San Clemente, California. I didn't know Thomas was 43 years old.
Had no idea.
So I mean, we all hope to be in the shape he's in.
Holy moly. No kidding.
So these are overall first place in the Unlimited category. Then we go down the road. Our first tandem that came in, like we talked about, Erickson and Erickson. They're going to be on the tandem. Then the Trandom.
The Trandom Bracket Mafia. Incredible. E-boards.
E-boards, yes. And then we go down a little bit further here, and we get on our second place, which it says Georges Constant.
From Tahiti. Holy moly.
Came in there in second place. And then Darian Hindreth from Capitola also coming in on the Unlimited in second place there. And then the Elite 14 here, that is...
We got Rand. We got Jake Jensen. Boy, this is a nice little packed... A lot of local boys, man.
That's cool to see, isn't it?
Aaron McKinnon from Tahoma. Well, yeah, that's really groovy.
So it's kind of neat to see the local boys representing here in this race of this stature, because this race, they might not be here today, but individuals like Jamie Mitchell, Danny Ching, I mean, the top paddlers, Rob Rojas, have all competed in this event in the past years. So,
absolutely.
I mean, this event carries a lot of stature.
It's no nonsense, and by them not being here, a lot of these cats have been training like maniacs to gun for that 10K. So it'd be interesting to see. I wonder who's going to step up to the plate on this one.
What other events are going on today I was trying to think about that. Like, what other SUP events are going on that a lot of these guys...
Well, you know what happened is really a lot of these people are just destroyed from the Molokai event.
Molokai, yeah.
The Molokai just happened last weekend, and if anyone paid attention to what was going on, the most gnarly, brutal conditions, and those guys are destroyed from that. So the notion of like loading up the old Sprinter and coming up here for our race was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So I think a lot of these cats are just resting and then gearing up for the Battle of the Paddle.
And the Battle of the Paddle coming up late September, and we'll be highlighting that throughout because we do have, like we said, Kelly French and Barrett Tester, the event organizers for that event here. They're a huge part of this event as well. But the Molokai event, why don't you tell people a little more in case you don't know about that event? It was treacherous conditions this year. I saw the YouTubes, I saw the Instagrams, the Facebooks, everything coming in. Fascinating conditions, but I mean, it is no joke.
Even on the best of days, that is a grueling, hard paddle. I mean, anyone that has ever paddled in the islands, you know, they always think about these dreamy downwinders, you know, but it's not all about that. You have tiny islands with huge tidal fluctuations between them, and you talk to any Hawaiian waterman, and it's not a bed of roses. I mean, you are really against the extremities of water, and that whole Molokai race was just that. You had wind, you had currents, you had surf, just everything was working against you in that race, and you know, the cats that actually won were really just like random guys. You know, the full elite pro guys, you know, didn't hold a candle. So it was really cool to see some of the new upcoming guys, you know, take home the goods.
And we do have to point out Danny Ching was in that event after battling a staph infection.
Yeah,
from the previous event.
And injured. You know, he's paddled a lot this season, and you know, really, when you're not cross training and you're dealing with a repetitive motion sport like stand up paddleboarding, it takes a lot of wear and tear on your rotator cuff, your wrist, your elbows, and so. Is this one of our...
This is our first female coming in the shot right now, going off to the left-hand screens from Incline Village. That's Lena Agaitis.
Oh, yeah.
You know her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
35-year-old Wahine here from another local girl.
Paddling like a maniac. I mean, that's a really clean paddle stroke.
There,
look at her. That's really clean.
Now, supposedly she trains with a lot of the local boys around here. She trains with the guys.
Absolutely.
She ain't messing around.
Absolutely. That's really clean paddle stroke. Let the really soft wrist, not to fatigue the wrist on the top hand. And nice. Look at that.
Yeah.
Very
Lena
clean.
Agaitis on a starboard. We were just talking about starboard earlier. So 35 years old. It's it's neat to see all the local guys kind of making an impact.
Absolutely.
And gals
yeah.
making an impact around here.
That's probably one of the new boards. That's probably a Zemansky design. There's another cat by the name of John Becker who's working with Brian Zemansky. Actually.
Is it?
Is that a bark?
It's hard to tell.
They
kind of have similar designs.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're the top starboard rider we have to talk about, though, is the guy that's won the Battle of the Paddle in his own right.
Straight up.
And so, I mean, we'll get back to him here momentarily, but, you know, he's been I'm trying to his name's spacing my head right now, but the top starboard rider, always a competitor with Danny Ching.
Are you talking Connor Baxter?
Connor Baxter, thank you. I had the name, and then I spaced it when
I was letting you dig deep into the cerebellum there, and then I was just going to interject. Yeah,
Connor Baxter, yes.
And he's an anomaly. You know, if you watch the way the guy paddles, you're like, what?
Yes.
What are you doing, dude? You know, it's like he's choking. Rand Carter. Rand Carter walking across our view with the mystery bark speed machine right there.
Gosh, I think it looks like a missile.
Rand Carter ripped it. Next year he's going to be a Masters division. Watch out, boys.
Thank goodness.
Red looks a little bit destroyed.
Yeah, he's not too happy. He looks a little upset.
He looks a little ashen.
In case you missed it, that was the blackboard of Rand Carter walking across the front of the screen there. But we left off talking about Connor Baxter. Young kid, 23 years old or something like that.
Yep.
You know, won Battle of the Paddle that one year, kind of knocked Danny Ching off his podium for a little while.
And you look at the guy, I mean, it's like he doesn't have an ounce of muscle on him. He's like this beanpole of a guy. He's a Maui boy. Yeah. He's as pale as, like, you know, it's amazing. It's
blonde
like
hair, blue-eyed.
Yeah.
Scrawny.
And he just he kills it. Yeah. He kills it. And so it's like that's proof in the pudding, the fact that it just doesn't matter. There is no proper technique. You just find your own bliss and follow it. And Connor Baxter is a textbook example of that.
I don't know how I spaced his name, but I tell you what, I'm really excited. to see Battle the Paddle this year. You know, with Danny facing all the injuries he had, and Connor really taking the top honors in a lot of these races as of late. I think it's going to be a really exciting event down there.
Absolutely.
So. But we got an exciting one going on here, the Tahoe Nalu, hashtag Tahoe Nalu 13, in case you're following them on Twitter. We do have a social media person out there kind of highlighting all the updated information, and we're getting it to you here. Dave Defoe and Drew with a U. Watching the rest of our paddlers. A lot of these guys just out for a 10-mile paddle like it was another day before work.
No
like
big thing.
A lot of us paddle around here.
Yep.
Get one in before work.
That's how we do it. Take off the work boots and go out for a paddle.
So I think we'll try to take another quick break here. And then when we come back, we're going to try to get the results, all the results, and try to make these a little finer and a little tighter for you in the 10-mile and the 2-miler. Grom race coming up at noon today here in Kings Beach. And I tell you what, it's been a great day for paddling, Dave. And I tell you what, we got a lot of action still to come. So stay with us here at Supconnect.
The Jam from the Dam is the greatest event of our series, I think. Sunny, a lot of smiles, great scenery, 6-mile sprint, if you will, fun race. Absolutely a delight, and beautiful people.
It's definitely casual, but there's definitely some heavy hitters here. You got Jay Wild, you got a couple other ringers in here, so I hope to be drafting all those guys. So we'll see what happens, and we're gonna have a good time today. It's a beautiful day on the Lake Tahoe, and I'm just stoked to be here.
We got pros probably led by Rob Rojas. He's the #1 in the series right now. Jay Wild from Truckie's right behind him. Pretty good elite field. These guys are going for the money. There's a $20,000 cash purse. Last race is going to be September 15th, the 22-mile race. Expecting a lot of pros on that race. It's going to be well received. Expecting about 150, 60, maybe 70 people doing this race. Youngest is going to be about 8. Oldest is probably going to be 72. A great field, wide open. First place going to come in about 50 minutes. They'll finish the 6-mile course in 60 minutes. So they're moving right along.
We're good.
Let's go, turn it on.
It was tough. Dan Sarazin, who came in right behind me, he just pulled away real fast off the start, and I did everything I could to catch him at the point, and then just we pulled on, and then basically from the point all the way to here, we were side by side, and just my goal was just to keep my nose a little bit in front of his, just to see if I could out sprint him at the end, and was able to do that. It helps a lot when you've got good competitors to race against, because it constantly pushes your level. And you know, Lake Tahoe is the mecca for flat water paddling. You know, that's known around the world. So to have people come up like Rob Rojas from Southern California and Ben Sarazin from the Bay Area to come on to our big blue lake and be able to push me to the point where I'm almost in tears because of you know, just pushing so hard. It's good for me, it's good for our community. We've got a bunch of really good little kids coming up that are fully into it, so it's great. And this event's awesome because it's a 3-race series and there is money on the line for the overall champion. So it's actually a pretty serious race, and it's known around the nation about this series. So you know, to win the series or even to win a race in the series is pretty rad.
It was fun. It's a beautiful race conditions, like to be able to paddle in the lake. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it was fun coming around. We had a really